Okay. All right. Bismillah. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm just going to go through some aspects of business analysis and data analytics. And it's going to be like a very fast track. So hopefully everyone can keep up. But like I said, I don't do like questions at the end. So I like to be interactive sessions. So people jump in with questions and things whenever you feel fit to ask a question or if something is confusing. Um, and the second thing is like I don't want to give too much theory. I want to give like more practical aspects to it because the theory you can find that online, or if anybody wants to go and do a degree, they can do a degree in computer science, or there's many courses and stuff that you can do where you learn the theory. But I like to give the practical aspects of it, what somebody would be doing in as a business analyst job or data analytics analyst or something like that as a day-to-day solving problems for businesses. So anyway, so definition. This definition is from the British Computer Society, you can find it online. But business analysis is the professional discipline of identifying business needs and determining solutions to business problems. Solutions often include software systems. Um, Obviously, development components may also consist of process improvements, organizational change, and strategic planning and policy development. So what does that actually mean? Is unpack that a little bit. So basically, first of all, it's identifying opportunities for change in an organization that can be as a result of um, some sort of new technology that's come on board, some sort of new market segment that people have so identified that the business can sell. There's a new that's been launched or that can be launched, right? Or there could be efficiency. So, for example, operational inefficiencies exist within an organization that's been identified. There's some organizational changes that need to occur, something like that. There's various aspects that can cause a change in an organization. So, therefore, as a result of that, business analysis needs to be done to determine the solution, what the solution will be. And a solution usually, as is mentioned within the important, first of all, going into the important concepts, the solution will encompass data, technology, and the business. And by I mean business, I mean people. So is that interaction between the three, right? Um, and it requires somebody to come in and actually seamlessly understand the relationship between the three and how that's going to affect the business change. So, okay, I'm going to stop from it. Does that make sense? Is there any questions that I've seen?
No,
No,
that makes
no,
complete
no.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. So we have use cases. These are fundamental parts of business analysis. Whereas a use case is a you can think of it as a scenario, right? A scenario in a business that is a subset of the entire business, right? So you can take of it like as a subset, a problem, or a smaller proof of concept type of problem that could be there as a use case, and you try to solve that as a chunk, right? So we take things in stages. So for example, let's say the problem is, I don't know, simple example. Um, I don't know, like for example, how to make a cup of tea, right? So we chunk it into the stages of that process, right? To make a tea, you need to boil water, you need some milk if you want milk in your tea, you need some sugar, and you need tea bag, you need to add those components together to the specification required by the recipient, and then produce that tea. But then the use case, there's many use cases there, right? What is the type of tea bag that's required, the strength of the tea bag, how many tea bags, how much sugar, how sweet it's going to be, how hot the water is going to be. Does the milk need to be heated, not heated? Is it going to be heated with the milk inside, not inside? So there's variations. So there's different use cases. So again, so you try to build apart that use case in a real life business scenario, and then you can build smaller use cases to actually try to solve a bigger problem. So take it to a bigger problem, say organization. is running inefficiently. For example, let's say it's a I don't know, a car production um, yeah, a car manufacturer, for example, and they're unable to meet the demand for customers in terms of producing the level of the cars that they require. So, for example, let's say the demand of customers is 1,000 cars a month. They're unable to produce this, so therefore we now need to find why that's happening. Right? What is the underlying causes of these things? So we have to build use cases, and then then we have to solve those use cases to come up with that the solutions for that. Okay, that's use cases. Then we have requirements. The requirements are essentially a key part of business analysis where you gather requirements from the business. So this is more a I guess where a problem has been identified, and then find out what the business requires. So in this car manufacturer example, is that the manufacturer requires to produce 1,000 cars a month. Now, obviously, now we need to break that down, and it again relates to the use cases. So maybe the after doing a study of the business, we find that there's some issue in the manufacturing process. There's some gaps, or there's a skill set gap. People don't know how to do certain things. They could do it more faster. There could be introduction of technology, machinery, to automate certain processes that are not being automated. Some people are dragging their feet. They're not working optimally. All of these kind of things. So you have to figure out the requirements and how to resolve these things, right? So requirements could be, we need to find more efficient stuff. We need to find a system that will automate part number X, Y, Z of this production process, whatever. So these are requirements. That's something that's it's a fundamental part of business analysis. And a business analyst needs to be able to speak to the people within the organization to get the requirements. Right, then we have functional specifications. So functional specifications are again a fundamental part of business analysis, which is the documentation required that's required by technologists. So you want to give the technologists functional specifications, which is essentially what you want a system to do, right? So if it's a technological system, and I guess most of the organizations and most of the companies after they use some sort of technology, right? In 2022, I think you'll find any company or any organization in I guess at least in the Western world doesn't use technology. So you need to be able to write functional specifications in terms of how the system or the piece of technology is going to be enhanced or improved with regards to yeah, the change that's gonna happen. So that's functional specification. Obviously, it goes deeper than that because the system could be it could be any type of system. It could be a it could be a web-based system, it could be an application, it could be app on the phone, it could be software that's sitting on multiple servers with multiple databases and various type of tech. So it will depend on that. So but that's the general concept of functional specification, right? Any questions so far?
No,
No.
all good. Makes
Uh,
sense. Yeah, straightforward.
Okay, and then the testing aspect is obviously making sure once the system is built, so the developers um, will be responsible for performing that systematic change or performing system enhancements, and then so it's up to the business analyst to test to make sure that everything is built according to the specifications. Right? Release is obviously the system, the changes the release does not only mean the system, so it means operational uh, things, it means data as well. So there could be, so remember I said before, there's a liaison between data technology and business. So when there's a release, i.e. The system has been upgraded or there's some enhancements to the system, the underlying system that the organization is using, then there will be data that needs to be linked to that, or there'll be new data that'll be created, or data is going to existing data that's going to be enhanced, and then technology will also be enhanced, and then the business will need will have operational aspects related to that that need to be adhered to as well. So that's the release side of things, and then there's recalibration. So obviously there's ongoing work. So once there is a solution that's put forward, that solution may not necessarily prove the concept. So at the start, there could be use cases that are built, and then the system is enhanced to release a solution that's basically trying to solve this use case. But empirical evidence or empirical review suggests that it's not really solving the use case, or it's not 100% solving it, or it's not solving it to the extent that which it was assumed that it would solve it. So therefore, it requires some sort of recalibration and adjustment. So so again, there's another phase of requirements or based on empirical evidence this time. So we see, okay, like systems not performing well. There's something is not adjusting properly in the system. So that or if something's not performing to best of its ability. So therefore, it requires recalibration, right? So those are the main concepts of the business analysis. And again, this is related to the project management life cycle, software release life cycle. But I've just tried to summarize it as much as possible. But those are the main things that need to be understood. And obviously, with data analytics, we'll get to that now in the next bit. And obviously, business analysis and data analytics are very much related. So that's that. Any questions so far? No.
Do you have like an example of something like a use case that you would recalibrate?
Um, let me think of an example. Um, okay, so let's say let's say um okay let's say okay, World Cup is happening, right? So it's something that everyone's probably watching or to some extent. So let's say you have different companies that are measuring the statistics that are coming out from the World Cup, right? So that's a use cases to see, let's say, how much passes a team does in the game of 90 minutes, or how many goals they score, how many attempts on goal, the key statistics that you see at the end of a game that's displayed, right? So now you would want to recalibrate that if the use case is not satisfied, right? So for example, like basic statistics could be produced very easily, like how many goals were scored, how many attempts on goal, how many saves were made, how many tackles. But like if you look at like more very detailed things, like how many passes were made, how much distance somebody ran, how many times they fell over, how many times didn't, like all of that kind of stuff. That may not be satisfied by original use case, right? So you need to recalibrate that potentially, because your way of measuring that may not be efficient in the first go, because you might not get it 100% right. Because how would you measure, let's say, how many times someone falls over, right? You need someone observing it, right? You need a human to observe that, and then press a button or something to count it, how many times that happens, right? So there may be a human error in that, so because the person might be doing it inaccurately, right? Or their interpretation of somebody falling over could be different, right? So it could be what is constitutes someone falling over? Does that mean their knees are on the ground? Does that mean their back is on the ground? Are they laying on the ground fully? What is that? So that you might need to recalibrate that and say, actually, well, you know what, it's just falling definition of falling over is if the knees are on the ground. Secondly, we may introduce two people or three people, right, to count, and then all those three people may produce different numbers, and then we take the average of the three. So that's your recalibration, right? So first attempt might be you just get one person to count it, and then you might say, okay, so you're just not producing accurate results. So let's get three people to do it, and then we take the average of the three, and then we have a clear definition of what it means to fall down as a statistic. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Thanks.
Yeah. So that's how you do it. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go through some like sort of like practical examples. Uh, so um, yeah, so hopefully you guys still see the screen. Do you see a graph on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So my question is, this graph represents one of the three items that are listed there: global inflation, vegan population, or the charity donations. Um, in between, well, the graph doesn't have the numbers, but let's assume it's like between 2021 and 2022. So what do people think? I can't do a poll here, but what do people think? Anyone can shout out. What does it represent? One, two, or three? Doesn't matter what anybody can answer.
I would say number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
The orientation module or section is often that needs like most of the work aside from like, structuring content and things. The orientation needs so.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think someone else said one as well in the chat.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, yeah, I mean that is the right answer. It is global inflation. So basically, what I'm trying to show is this is data analytics, right? So this is how to use data analytics, and obviously there's some aspects of business analysis as well to come to some sort of conclusion, and also how to generate business revenue from that, right? So so for example, so this graph does show that. So obviously global inflation has gone up recently, as people, if you were watching the news, or if you felt it in terms of expenditure, the inflation has definitely increased a lot in the last year. And there's a number of factors of relate as to why that's happened, but I'm not going to go into that. But the fact is that let's assume this is true, and it is the data does show that this is how it looks generally. So if we go to the next item here. So for example, so the concept that I'm trying to talk about is like if you have a macro factor, right? So a macro factor meaning like a macro event. Macro event meaning like something that's can a person go on mute if you're not talking? I don't know. You can go on mute. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, that's all right. No worries. So a macro factor is something that's like global or local or national or something like that. So it's basically a very high level event. So like for example, this is what it says: 20% increase in inflation globally. That's what the stats say this year, right? So people have been searching on Google, and these statistics have come actually. Google produced some of these statistics. So they actually produce. So for example, people have been searching what is inflation. So that's one of the most common searches that's happening, right? And then there's related searches as well, right? So I have a question. What what could be a related search to what is inflation? Because the thing is like you're gonna ask what is inflation, right? So and then you're gonna get a definition of what is inflation. So once you know what is inflation, then you're gonna want to know some other things, right? So what would be the next a
Well,
Yeah,
what's the cause of inflation,
cost of
maybe?
living. Yeah, cost of living crisis.
sorry, say the second one again. What was that?
Crisis or cost of living. How does that affect? How does the inflation affect the cost of living?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess we keep it more simple. I think the question would be just very simply, I was afraid there would be why, why is it happening, right? That would be a question, right? And give me, can you get someone give me another question that you would ask, like related?
How?
Yeah, who benefits?
Yeah, okay. So Yeah, so yeah, I mean, who benefits is more is more detailed, but like you have to keep things very purist, right? So that just think like what keep it fundamental. So fundamentally is like, okay, what is inflation? If you didn't know what inflation was, then you want to know what it is. Now you know what it is, you want to know why it's happening, and then you want to know how it's happening, right? How like how has it been caused, right? And then um give me another example, another question that you would ask as a fundamental thing.
Yeah, someone said, "What's the solution?" in the chat.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm not reading the chat, but yeah, that's fine.
No, I'll keep an eye for you. I'll keep an eye for you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, so that's fundamental as well. Yeah, solution. Okay. So let's so I'll ask another question, right? So what is inflation and why is inflation why is inflation being caused, right? What is the relationship between the what and the why? Uh, is it a correlation or a causation? What do people think?
Say the question again.
Okay, what is inflation? The relationship between what is inflation and why does inflation occur, or why has inflation occurred in in the last year? What the relationship between the two answers, is it a causation or a correlation?
What's the difference between causation and correlation?
Okay.
I think I missed
So,
the early part of your
no,
talk.
I didn't
Causation,
explain it.
I think.
I didn't explain it. I did not explain it, but that's fine. But like, so okay, so correlation is that where there's some sort of relationship between the two things. There's one item and there's another item, and there's some sort of correlation between it. The causation is that the item A and item B was caused by item A, and item B wouldn't exist if item A didn't exist. So like it's kind of like dependent on each other. So
Mm.
that's causation, and then correlation is that there's some sort of interrelationship between the two.
Yeah, you've
No.
got two answers, not man. They both said causation in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's yeah. That's fine. So yeah. So that's correct. Actually, it is a causation. Yeah. How to draw in pen. Yeah. Yeah. It's causation. Um. Okay. So now the next one is that why is if inflation why is there been so much inflation, and then how was the inflation caused? What's the relationship between that? Is it a correlation or causation? And I'll explain the reasoning behind this in a bit, but I just want to get people thinking.
Would the second one be correlation?
The second one is correlation. Yeah. So okay, so basically the reason is that so you need to understand this data, right? How the data relates to each other in order to come out with some sort of like a solution to the to a problem, or to come up with something that you can sell to a business, right? So I'm just talking about these fundamentals here. So for example, you know that why was inflation caused is a causation, because if inflation doesn't exist, right, then you wouldn't ask why did it come about, right? So that's why it's a causation, right? So that's what answer to the other person's question at the start. So like it wouldn't even exist. But now, how is it how is it being caused, or how does it affect, like how can be multiple questions? How does it affect me? How does it affect my population, like my locality? How does it affect an organization? How does it affect this? So all of that stuff is correlation, because there's a number of factors that are related to the why. So that's correlation. So that generates into money. Why I've put a dollar sign here, because if you know how it affects something, right, then you can sell that, because that's a USP that you can use to sell that, right? So you can produce a report. That report shows how the inflation is affecting a specific demographic or a specific part of I don't know, society or business or whatever, and then you can monetize that. So that's how you monetize using data analytics and business analysis. So you have a fundamental cause, a cause, which is like, okay, this is what's happening. So like this is how, this is a real life example of how to use the events that are occurring in a day-to-day life of you, or whoever, of your life, and that that you see on the news, um, and then utilize them to potentially benefit financially from it, right? So that's how it's done. So does that make sense? It's quite advanced, but like I think I've tried to explain it in the most simplistic way. Yeah, I don't want to move on until that everyone makes sense, or is there any clarification?
All good.
That's
There's a
clear.
question in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead, read it out, please.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Is this workshop specific to one type of business or business in general?
No, I'm talking generally. Yeah, I'm talking generally because I don't wanna, I'm not specifying any type of business. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, cool. All right. So let's go on to the next one. Again, so we have another graph, right? So what do people think that a graph represents? One, two, or three? In the last year. Anyone?
I'm gonna take a guess. Global warming.
Okay. It could be global warming, but it's actually online shopping. And I mean that specific data set is relates to online shopping. So now again we have a data set and we see a trend, right? There's a trend. There's a major increase in online shopping, right? So yeah, so there's a high level growth in online window shopping. There's a fundamental fact, and there's research studies have shown that since since COVID, there's been a fundamental increase in online shopping. So can people give me reasons as to why? Just like just brainstorm any reasons why.
I think as obviously with smartphones now, people like it's just easier to do, and people rather do that than the whole actual going to the shop and doing shopping themselves.
Okay, so access, easy access. Yeah. Okay, good. Any other reasons?
I think ever since lockdown, people, well, most people, just find a way of shopping as a way to spend their money. During
Okay.
COVID, yeah, it's just a way to just keep themselves busy.
Okay, excellent. That's good. Anything else?
Is
It's
it
a
also
safe
maybe,
time.
yeah, sorry, go on. Is it maybe because the people got used to it since the COVID lockdown? That's how it was. So they just got used to it and just continued the pattern.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
Last one from me. A lot of people work long hours, so like sometimes the shops are not open. So like, and then Saturday, Sundays maybe they're busy. So that's what the revert on.
Okay. So on okay, cool.
We've got one
So
more,
there,
one
yeah,
more in the
go on.
chat. No, man, as well.
Yeah,
We've
that's
got one
good.
more in
That's
the
good.
chat. It said a lot of stores closed down, so now the shopping has to be done online.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. That's good. I mean, it shows people are thinking. There's some good things there. I would say some other stuff is basically, yeah, like for example, um, you have the ability to return things now, that with and get a full refund. Yeah. you can return, basically you can open it, try it. That was something that wasn't there in the past. Like very few outlets allowed you to buy something, take it home, and like do all the stuff, so that you can actually do that returns. Uh, there's also technological changes that have occurred as well. So, for example, many of the stores allow you to have a 360 view of an item, right? So, like for example, like watch stores, they show you the watch being worn by someone on the wrist, and they're walking, and like you could turn the wrist around and all that kind of stuff. So, so that gives the user experience. More advanced user experience, so it's more like mimicking like a shop, right? So that's some of the reasons why. So I mean, so if we go into the actual detail behind this, right? You can see that actually there's more detailed statistics. Is there like there's a 24% increase, and then so basically, so if you take this as quarters, yeah, like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 of this year, right? So like every 3 months, for example, there was a 24% increase in Q1. Sorry, Q1 was like quite low, about 12, 10%, 8, 9%. Then Q2, 24%, Q3, 34%, Q4. So like right now, 51%. And obviously with November, whenever they have there's some sale day or something on November, I don't know what it's called. And then you have the Christmas sales and all that kind of stuff as well. So that this is the percentage of people that are trying new brands. Yeah. So there's something new. It's a new phenomenon where most people tend to, as a statistic suggests, most people tend to buy brands that they are familiar with because they are generally like they're comfortable with it. For example, if you see someone who has an iPhone, generally they've had the iPhone for like a number of years, right? You won't find them changing to Android. Very rarely you would find that situation. And then like if somebody buys I don't know, like certain type of clothing, they'll be right because it fits them nicely. They like the look of it, so they're all right with it. So they'll buy that brand of clothing over and over and over again. They may buy some other brands, but like not really that much. So, but the percentage of people trying new brands has increased a lot. And then, like I said, as mentioned, that there's 40% increase in clothes of specific colors. From all of these, there's an average 40% of people are buying things, new brands, but then they also buy new colors, green, pink, and blue. Don't know why that is, but that's what the data shows. And then there's 40% increase in YouTube searches for the word review, right? So you can see that there's a correlation between the YouTube search and people trying new brands, because like when YouTube actually did a survey themselves, and they found that 88% of shoppers agree that YouTube makes it easier to decide what to buy, right? Right. So for example, like okay, so as a business, or let's say you're a business analyst, right? Put yourself in the in the mind of a business analyst. How give me some ideas on how you can monetize this, like based on that. I mean, I'll explain some examples and all this stuff. How can you monetize this? Anything? Any ideas? Like how would you make
You can
how would you
pay
make money?
influencers to look for your
Yeah.
products.
You got to say again, sorry?
You can
Pay
pay
influence.
influencers, yeah, to review your
Okay.
products and then post them online.
Yeah, that's yeah, that's very good. Yeah, very good. But you using these statistics though, using these statistics, what would you yeah, build on that actually. That's a good example. That's good what you said, but but make it more intelligent. Like okay, yeah, just generally like paying influencers, that's fine, but like using the statistics, what would
So in
you?
terms of how to monetize, is that for companies we're talking about?
Yeah. So you're a business analyst, right? You're gonna go to a company, you're gonna tell them how to make money out of this, right?
Hmm.
So you've seen this data, right? you've analyzed this data, you've got all these numbers and everything, right? And then you go to the company and you're going to tell them how they're going to monetize. So they're going to pay you for that. So so that's
So
what a business
so
analyst does.
yeah, I would obviously using the data, I would show it to them, say obviously 80% of shoppers agree that the YouTube makes it easier for them to decide what to buy. So we need to use that market and use get our product on YouTube with reviews.
Yeah, with reviews. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so that's very good because yeah, so you're using this data, right, to do that. I mean, like I could give you another example. Could be that you could actually get you can actually develop an algorithm, right, that pays influencers, it calculates how much to pay an influencer based on how how new a product is, how new a brand is. So that could be the thing. So for example, if you have a new brand that's been launched, and I don't know. I can't think of a new brand, but let's say a fairly new brand like let's say Gymshark, right? Gymshark is a fairly new brand, and they're trying to like compete with the likes of like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, all that stuff. But in the kind of training and gym market, let's say that's a new brand. I mean, it's been around for a couple of years, but like let's say it's a new brand. I would use an algorithm or I would develop an algorithm or I'll get the requirements for an algorithm that would work out such a brand like this and then pay influencers more money to promote that brand rather than paying influencers more money to as opposed to existing brands that are already like have established base, right? So that's the thing. And actually that's what YouTube does do that. Yeah. That's what YouTube actually does that. Their algorithm once you type in like review, once you review something, right? That search is and if you're logged into YouTube, right? If you have your your Gmail or something, you logged into YouTube, it will index your search and it will throw at you brands that sorry, it will index your search and it will compare against other brands that you've purchased in the past based on other like any other online purchases that you've made because you would have got a receipt on your Gmail or something, so they can analyze that. So then they will promote to you brands that are like you're not buying or they're new brands to continue this trend of going up. And they'll and if you're an influencer, you're going to get paid more money to promote one of those brands that are new that they want to push out. So that's it. But that's what a business analyst would do, right? In a practical example, the business analyst is gonna collate all this data, right? First collate all this data and then identify a business opportunity and then present that to the business, to a business or to a organization or something, and then get it implemented. So that's what a business analyst does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, last example, before we sort of wrap up, is for example, if we look at this graphs here, right? So graph A shows this is again is current data. Graph A shows the increase in ADHD, and ADHD is attention deficiency hyperactivity disorder. Uh, Graph B, line B, shows the consumption of fast fix pharmaceuticals. So people consuming drugs that just like basically are just quick fixes to illnesses that they have or hide the underlying illness but just make them function properly for a short period of time. And a C is a reliance on like a slow diet change and the reliance on natural remedies to cure your body. So these are trends. There's data that shows that A and B are on the uptick, and then C is actually on the on the downwards downwards trend, right? So so for example, sorry, just trying to go to the other side. So what is the desired outcome, right? So for example, like as a business analyst, you would look at this situation, and then you could say, for example, I look at the situation, I'm not happy with the situation, right? I'm like, I'm not happy with this, or I think the situation is not great. We need to change it. So then you come up with a theoretical model, right? The theoretical model of the data of how you want the data to look. How does the data look? So that's the use case, right? This is your use case of how you want the data to look. So what do we want, right? We want the number of ADHD cases to go down, to decline. We want the consumption of fast fix pharmaceuticals to go down, and we want the reliance on slow diet changes, natural remedies to go up. That's the one scenario. Obviously, there's other people that don't want that, but like let's assume that that's what we want to happen. So that's your use case, right? So how do we solve this use case, right? So the way to solve the use case is I mean, it's quite it'll be quite advanced. But for example, you could think of things like, for example, is there there's a correlation between the increased consumption of social media uh, to the A and B, right? Right. So that's one of the kind of reasons as to why. So because what we want to understand first of all is why, right? Why is this going up? Why is this going down? And then how is it affecting, how's it affecting us? And then how can we actually change that? So there's so business analysts would gather statistics firstly to look at this, and it's, for example, so there is a correlation between the usage of social media, um, and the increase of ADHD and the consumption of fast-fixed pharmaceuticals, because it's related. There's a relationship between both of these things. Sorry, the fast-fixed pharmaceuticals have increasing the consumption of fast-fixed pharmaceuticals causes the same, like, sort of dopamine rush, and that's the same, like a reward type of emotion in the body, and it's also that's also caused by usage of social media, increased usage of social media, uh, and then also the increase of ADHD, again, the relationship with social media is that you can see there's a correlation between the usage of the social media that's requires a low amount of attention. So, like, for example, you would find the statistics show that TikTok and Instagram are way more popular amongst people than Twitter, because Twitter requires more attention, because it's a more of a is written text. You have to read it, you have to engage with it, you have to understand it. Whereas TikTok, Instagram is more picture and video focused, so it actually has a bigger dopamine hit as well. So that really relates to people having more of an attention deficiency. So like I said, I mean, there's statistics that prove why these trends are happening like this, and then once you understand why, then you have to understand how to change it to this desired thing. So what can be done to actually change it to the desired effect? So yeah, I mean, there's many things that can be done, right? So, for example, limit the usage of social media, limit the usage of high frequency social media like TikTok, Instagram, limit the actual replace your dopamine that you get from social media with other aspects of dopamine, that reward based kind of things, where you're, like, maybe going to the gym, exercising more, releasing more endorphins in a more positive way, obviously changing your diet, and increasing more patience and all these kind of things. So there, so then, like, these are the kind of things. So then, for example, this can be, this whole thesis and concept can be pitched to different companies that may be interested in such a solution to the problem. So that's using data analytics and a business analysis to come up with a desired hypothesis, and then trying to solve that hypothesis and showing how you can solve that. So yeah, again, that could be monetized as well. So yeah. Any questions on that? I think there's something on the chat. I don't know. Can't read it.
No, that was from before.
Oh, okay, so before. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I had for today. I think I'm bombarded with a lot of information, but I think, you know, I like to get into the nitty-gritty, because there's a lot of stuff that can be read online, but this stuff you can't read it online. You
No,
actually
you can't,
need
akhi. It was excellent. Wallah, Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that. Any questions? Any like questions on the last thing or anything else? Anybody have?
You can write the questions in the chat if you're
Yeah.
more comfortable with that, inshallah.
Yeah, we'll give it some.
I was just gonna say one question in terms of you see the graph we just put now. It's a very good way of explaining it.
Yeah.
How reliable is it in terms of is it used in our current affairs today, or is it something that should be used but it isn't? Like how much does external factors play or unforeseen factors play in terms of like in terms of an analysis?
It's huge. It's huge. Like you know, like global economics is all based on these graphs. So they you know, that's what these you know, economists get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds to look at these trends, to come up with these trends, and then show where the trends are going to go. You know, predict where it's going to go in the future based on what they see happening. So it's used a lot. I mean, I can give you hundreds of examples where it's used. You know, but yeah, you have data scientists, right? That are that sit there, and data science, what they do on a day-to-day basis, they basically analyze these kind of trends, and then they come up with solutions to these trends, and then they pitch it to organizations. It's similar to this, right? Yeah. So like these graphs, by the way, all of these graphs are based on empirical evidence. I haven't just made them up. It's not just I just made it up. But these are actual research that I was doing as part of some work, and this is like real life. There's real data behind this. Obviously, I've simplified it a little bit for to give the idea, but there's real data behind it, and the trends are accurate. So that's yeah, that's how it is. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair, akhi. Oman, may Allah bless you, akhi.
Okay.
I just
No,
received a message from Dawood.
Yeah.
Abdullah, inshallah, is starting his
Oh, okay,
lecture,
okay,
inshallah.
good. Okay,
So
cool.
I think,
All
yeah,
right,
I
no
think
worries. Yeah,
it'll be
we'll
great.
close it there then. Yeah.
Inshallah.
Okay, no
Barakallah
problem.
feek.
Then yeah, I mean, obviously we'll have some follow-up sessions, but yeah, we'll organize that, inshallah.
No,
But yeah,
definitely, akhi. After the World Cup, inshallah, definitely we'll do
yeah,
one, inshallah.
no problem. Okay,
Jazakallah khair.
all
I'll
right
be in
then.
touch with you, Numan,
Jazakallah
inshallah.
khair.
All right then. Take care.
Assalamu
All right,
alaikum.
thanks a lot, guys. Okay,
Wa alaikum
Walaikum
assalam wa
assalam.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.